Oh, I'm sorry.
And Shauna. All right, if everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First up on the agenda is student, staff, and family sharing. I believe it's Plastow Fire Department and their junior program.
Yes, we do have the junior program here with the Plastow Fire Department. Excited to hear about the work that's happening with our students, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us tonight. My name is
Absolutely.
Chris Moose. I'm the fire chief for the town of Plastow. This is Lieutenant Derek Travers. And we're just going to give a brief overview of a very exciting program that we started probably going on 2 years ago now.
A little over now.
Yeah. And it's an excellent program if you have high school age kids, 14 to 18, and they're looking to be part of a program that has structure, teamwork, and life skills. This is a great program for them, and they could also get up to 2 credits, graduation credits. So I'm going to allow Derek Travers to talk about the program. He's the one that oversees it. And I'm going to come back in a little bit and I'll talk about the OWL that's under. Do you want me to talk about that now?
You can do that now if you want.
So another exciting thing I'd like to showcase tonight is we just took delivery of a new ladder truck for our town. Something that I wanted to do was somehow tie our apparatus to the community besides just the name on the side of it. So we started that with our new ambulance that was delivered this year with a penguin to represent the Pollard Penguins. And with this ladder truck, we went with the owl, and we've named it the Owl's Nest, and we've purposely placed it on the bucket of the ladder truck, like you would find the owl's nest up in the air. So to help represent the community. So it's just like a cool little mascot that we wanted to include in our department as well.
Thank you guys for having me. It's actually great to be here tonight. Honestly, I had to rework my work schedule for football, so go Owls. So I was able to make it here and give this little presentation. First of all, my name is Lieutenant Travers. I'm with the Plastow Fire Department. I've been with the department almost 10 years now, and we started this program back in about October 2022. We went into the Timberlane school, into the high school. We did a recruitment night day during lunch. I got 11 names. I reached out to all the kids. I got 5 kids to show up, and when we started this back in January of 2023 after an orientation day, we are now up to over 20 kids in this program. Last year, as a matter of fact, I got contacted by Mark Pedersen. He's interested in kind of doing some kind of like an academy program here at Timberlane. I think there's some infrastructure stuff that we'd have to look at going forward, but for now, we're doing those credits that they get through the school district here within the junior fire department. And how do they obtain those credits? We have a modified firefighter 1 and a modified firefighter 2 credit. There are obviously some things that I can't do with these kids. I can't put them into live smoke. I can't put them into live, but I can do everything
Please don't
else.
do that.
Actually, don't tell them that, because if they have their way, they want to. So we don't treat these kids any differently than we treat our fire department. These kids come in, during their training. I don't sugarcoat everything. When they do their training, they get on the floor. They're active. They're crawling on the floors. They're doing everything that we would do in our own trainings. I will tell you that our kids are invited to train with the Plastow and the Atkinson fire departments when they have their own live training. So a lot of our kids will go to their fire departments and do their live trainings right alongside the fire departments. This picture you see is a burn trailer that we had that was donated by the town of Plastow. And the kids, we actually turned it into a whole fire behavior day, where we taught kids about fire behavior and how fire starts and how it spreads and how it flashes and things like that. So we're really kind of trying to bring as much of this stuff that we can give to them from an academy level right here in our junior program.
As the picture depicts, there wasn't a lot of extinguishing tactics.
Yes, no, we didn't.
That was more fire growth and behavior, not so much extinguishing.
Otherwise known as passing grade.
The goal
love that
was
they're
to burn.
smiling.
The goal was to burn the trailer down. So
And they were successful.
Yes.
They made it.
One of the things that I try to do in my program is I try to bring in guest speakers. I brought in guys from the New England Fools, Fraternal Orders of the Helmet Society. I brought in a female firefighter from Somerville, Massachusetts, who talked to the girls about females in the fire service. This is Miguel Baez. I don't know if you've ever heard of Miguel, but Miguel is one of four. And you would never know it by this picture. He's one of four amputees that work in the fire service. He works with the prosthetic leg, and he functions in the Lawrence Fire Department as a regular everyday firefighter. So Miguel was brought in to share his story and his successes in the fire service, even having an amputation. So our kids do trainings the same as we do within the building. We use the forcible entry props. We use our all the props that we have at the station. This here is Andrew Aguirre, who's now graduated, doing forcible entry. Our kids also are allowed to come to fire scenes and help out. This is another one of my seniors who's moved on, Allie Galvin. She came to the fire, I don't know if anybody recalls the fire we had next door to Timberlane last year, but a few of our juniors showed up and helped out with rehab and changing bottles and things like that. So they've actually become a big asset to our department as far as their functionality within the department. This is a picture of them working and doing some training in a quiet structure we had in Newton, New Hampshire, where we actually got to use a house that they were burning down, and we got to use it the week before they burned it, so we could have the kids do some realistic training. The smoke that you see is all theatrical smoke used with a smoke machine, but they had 100% smoked out conditions. In this picture, and this is just a picture of the structure and the kids that were involved. We actually did 3 separate trainings in this house. I broke the kids up into 3 different groups so that each kid could have 3 hours in that building to train. This is the training we did here in Timberlane for air management. So we did it in the mini gym. We actually played dodgeball. And while they were playing, they were learning to conserve their air tanks. 2 of our juniors actually lasted an hour and 47 minutes on air. One of them was behind me, Kevin Delaney, lasted about an hour and 42 minutes. So basically what happened was they'd get hit by the dodgeball, they'd have to lay down, then 2 people had to rescue them, bring them back out, and then they could come back into the game. And then once their vibe alerts went off, they had to lay down and conserve their air until their air bottles ran out. And we were all on top of them to make sure that everything was safe as they went through. This is a ladder training drill that we do with the kids. One of the things that we did this year is we did a field trip to Boston. We went to like 5 different firehouses. The kids went to the Boston Fire Museum, and they also got to see Boston fire alarms. So they got to see the aspect of big city firefighting, and all the kids had a tremendous time while we were down there. This was at the Marine unit. We actually got offered to go out in the boat, but when we got there, it was too choppy. They couldn't put the kids on the boat, but we would have gotten a boat ride out there if the conditions were right. But they did open up the boat for the kids to play with, extinguish some water. They were getting a talk to, but one of the deckhands on the boat, on the Marine unit. We do have our juniors get involved in community service. That's part of their how they obtain that credit. So we do invite them to come to any of the like Memorial Day ceremonies that we have in either Atchison, Plastow, or any of the towns. As long as they're doing some of these credits, that's how they obtain some of those credits. Again, one of the ladder trainings. There's 2 of our kids. So Keenan here and Jacob, they are both currently at the New Hampshire State Fire Academy. They are our seniors. They are live-in students in Meredith, New Hampshire. They actually graduated from our program, graduated from Timberlane. They went through EMT school while they were finishing up their senior year at Timberlane. Jacob is testing in a week or 2, and Keenan's like the end of the month. And Allie Galvin is the 3rd one. She's in Sanborn, and they're all currently at the New Hampshire State Fire Academy. So they've all gone through EMT school. They're now currently at the Fire Academy, and they're all live-in students up at the Lakes Region Community College and obtaining their associate's degree in fire science right now. Here's a picture of, we try to get all the departments involved. So these were our seniors that graduated that day, and we brought our trucks out to help them celebrate their graduation. A couple more slides. This is the kids at the New Hampshire Fire Academy, Explorer Academy. Just to give you a little idea of how much we've grown. Last year when we did this, I had 5 kids. This year we had 15 kids attend the Explorer Academy. And then obviously we've started to reach out, and one of our seniors, you can see him, Caleb Goldman, one of the captains, is in the bucket. We put the captain in the bucket. We got pictures with the football team. Oops, I just want to go ahead. And then we did I don't think I have it. We got the band too. This is a picture at the academy. This is a picture of the live burn. We'll let the kids get a little hose time. Love this picture. I had to throw that in. And this is Camden Junior Firefighter Travers. He was this was him doing auto extrication at the academy. And I just want to point this out. We do a ride-along program with our junior program, and we do let the kids get involved. This is Danny Sullivan. He's one of our kids that is from Haverhill, but we get them right involved in firefighting if we can get them as much involvement. And this is a recent picture of a med flight that we had on was it Sunday?
Yes.
Sunday. And just so happened that my 2 boys were with me.
So anyway, thanks for letting us come and share. It's been a very successful program. Lieutenant Travers has put a lot of hard work into the program. All of the time that he does with these kids, which is a lot, it's all volunteered. And again, if any parents have children that are interested around the ages of 14 to 18 or are in high school, it's a very structured program. It puts them on the right track. Maybe they might not even know they're interested in public safety yet. They might fall in love with it, but if not, it's going to give them discipline for anything they might want to do in life. So,
does anybody have any questions before we depart?
Do any of your firefighters want to say anything about the program and their experiences?
You guys want to say anything? Or you guys want to be shy?
I don't mind.
Can you just at least introduce yourselves to us?
Hi, I'm Laura Delaney. I recently got promoted to captain for the junior firefighters. I was one of the first 6 in the program. I'm from Manchester, but I live half the time here with my dad. So, yeah.
Nice to meet you. Congratulations.
Hi, my name's Cam. I'm the son of Derek. I've been a junior for a long time before this program was even a thing. I used to be a junior in a town called West Newbury. It's been a lifelong goal to be a firefighter. I think it's a great job. Saving someone's life, I imagine it just feels great.
Go ahead, Richie.
Come on, you're gonna have to help people every day. You gotta speak up. Let's go.
Your name is fine.
I'm Richie Albert. I've been in the juniors for about a year now. I'm in 10th grade.
Awesome.
Very nice. Nice to meet you.
I'm Junior Moran. I'm Derek's stepson, and I've been most recent.
Yeah, about
Join.
6 months.
so we'd call him a probie.
Yes.
I just started my freshman year, and I've been having a lot of fun with ride-alongs.
Good.
Great.
I'm Esme. I'm sophomore. I do band, field hockey, and I've been in for about a year.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming down. Do any of the board members have any questions?
You guys are awesome. What you're doing is awesome for those kids and for the community.
I love it. It's a labor of love. I mean, I don't get paid for it. I enjoy it. It's something that I want to do and give back to the community. It's no big secret. There was a time in my life where back in the 90s and 80s when you would try to get a fight on the fire department job and there was 1 seat for 200 applicants. Now it's kind of the opposite. We have more seats than bodies to fill. So this is a way where the program is working because I have 3 Timberlane students who literally left yesterday and now are currently actively at the fire academy today. And they'll by the end of October, they will be certified firefighter and EMTs. So and I think the nice part about this was some of these kids didn't know what their direction was going to be. Some of these kids didn't know what they were going to do. I just recently, my seniors came and gave me a photo of a picture with them on the truck that I took with them, and he, Jacob Braven came up to me and says, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So you know what? That's the goal. That's the payment is seeing these kids do something that I think is a worthwhile job and worthwhile career. And if any of you kids, anybody knows, again, anybody in the district can join, and I'd love to have them. So
Just I believe Kim and then Mark, and then we're gonna.
yes.
I just want to say this program is incredible. It's a part of our extended learning opportunities
Yes.
for our kids. This is the best of what that could be, and you're a great example of the best of what we have. And I could speak for myself, but I think I could speak for the board. We so appreciate you doing this with these kids. I know it's your time and effort, and it's so appreciated. And Chris, I know you spearheaded, I believe you spearheaded the whole Owl's Nest and the Pollard Penguin. And just to put the Pollard Penguin on your ambulance and the Owl's Nest on your truck, that's a community outreach. That's connecting us all together, and that's very big. And I've always thought that was cool, and haven't had an opportunity to say thank you for that.
That's what it was for.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you to the junior firefighters. It's something to be so proud of, and good job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely awesome. Again, thank you for you folks. This is, a perfect example of the non-traditional pathways, which I think all school systems are struggling to reach students who, don't fall into that direct line. But the benefit here is we keep that talent within the community as well, and it doesn't go off without a lot of hard work. So thank you, gentlemen. Most importantly, in the back, how awesome is that at your young ages to commit yourselves to trying to learn something new that you didn't know, committing yourself to it, and perhaps finding a career and a pathway for life. I wish I had that direction at your age, so round of applause for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Any of my parents have anything they want to say before we go?
Derek's awesome, honestly. He comes to kids' events outside of firefighters. He shows up at band performances. He shows up at kids' games. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And it's very much appreciated as a parent. I will
Right.
say, obviously, Richie didn't get my talking gene, but for what it's done for my son and the community and showing up to ride-along programs, it gives them a sense of these guys could be working at a grocery store, right? Instead, they're going to the fire department, they're doing ride-alongs, and they're learning tools that they'll have in their toolbox for the rest of their lives. So what it's given them, the community bond, the experience that they're getting between each other, that build, because these guys have to have that build. And, some people, they can go in and they can talk to anyone. And some people can go in and they can't talk to anyone at all. This is helping them all come out and work together as a team. And I'm so grateful that one day Derek found Richie being part of this program.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Give them a minute to clear out, and then we'll move on with the rest of our meeting. Next is delegates and individuals. Linda, do we have any other?
These are the only ones.
Thank you. All right, we're good. Do we have any other delegates and individuals, or is this it?
Oh, that's it.
Okay. There are 7, so to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak, I am going to adhere to the 3-minute time rule. So first up is going to be, I believe, Hannah.
Oh, I'm supposed to be second.
I just had the number 1, honey. I'm sorry.
Well, hi there. My name is Hannah Rizzo, and I am a resident of Atkinson. Atkinson has a total of 708 students in the school system. Today, I spent a lot of time doing some research, and I looked up school budgets and efficiency rates in New Hampshire. And I was not happy by what we all have allowed to happen. And perhaps our voters are just unaware. We spend over $25,000 a child, and our proficiency rate is about 50, a little bit more percent. Charter schools spend less than $10,000 per student with higher proficiency rates. and there's been a 35% increase in charter school enrollments, and they seem to be on a better path. Charter schools are doing a much better job for our kids than we are here, and at 1/2 the cost. The budget, at least to me, is not transparent, and to me, careful spending may be questionable. And I'm not sure why there is not open discussion and a little bit more transparency. We're small towns, and I never heard of a situation like this where there isn't a back and forth. The other issue is, when is our over budget dollars, millions, coming back to our towns? That's it, thank you.
All right, next is John Downing.
Hello again. All right, good evening. I'd like to make a statement regarding the 23-24 year surplus balance. The taxpayers were told in May that there was a surplus of 10 million, give or take. We were then told in August the surplus number was at 17 million. The additional 6 million was explained as additional unexpected revenue. So we have 17 million to work with. The school board was instructed very clearly by Mr. Krieger that the taxpayer voted law, the school board can retain 5%. There was a discussion that ensued how to proceed. A motion was made to return all the surplus less than $3.5 million. The encumbered money was discussed, and the school board decided to hold a special meeting for the taxpayers to decide to pay the lease payment due with this money. The district stands to save $1.4 million in interest over 20 years. To the school board's credit, there is a $13.5 million being returned. The problem is that the members of the school board pledged to return all of the surplus. This didn't happen. The only member to vote no was the chair, Ms. Knudsen. The taxpayers will have a chance to decide at a special meeting, which is okay and needed, but they will need to wait another year for that to be returned if it's voted to return it. Unless the district can avoid the high cost of a special meeting with the moderator, supervisors of the checklist, and attorney fees. How? The district has already raised $2.1 million in the current fiscal year 24-25 budget for the due lease payment. The district has received an unexpected amount of revenue from the state of $1 million for adequacy aid. Together, that is the $3.1 million that the school board could vote right now to encumber these dollars and pay the due lease payment right now. This would leave a zero balance on the lease, still save the district $1.4 million in interest over the 20 years, and give all of the 23-24 surplus back. I'd like to strongly encourage Mr. Sherwood and Mr. LeCain as my Sandown reps to make a first and second to open a discussion and make a motion as described tonight. This is a win-win for everyone, and the taxpayers will get back every penny as pledged by all of you but one. Thank you, John Downing. I'd like to enter this into the meeting minutes, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Next is, I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, is it Vale Freeman?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for your time. I am Vale Freeman. I am from Danville. I am a concerned citizen. And I'd like to state for the record that I am in agreement with John's assessment tonight, his procedures, and I would like to strongly recommend that everybody consider them and move forward with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Peter. Motion?
Hi, for the record, my name is Peter Terosian. I'm a resident of Atkinson, New Hampshire. I'm also the chair of the Atkinson Town Municipal Budget Committee. I'd like to just state a couple of things and then ask a couple of questions. One is I agree with the facts that Mr. Downing laid out this evening. Also, I was at the school deliberative session where there was a motion, and don't hold me to the exact amount, to reduce the budget by, I think it was roughly $5 to $6 million. That motion failed, and the argument on behalf of the school was that they needed that money, they couldn't live without it. Then I found out a couple months ago, we were sitting on 11 million plus surplus. Then fast forward to a couple weeks ago with 16 million, and I heard just the other day now 17 million. So a couple of questions I have is, number one, when was the last audit done of the school's finances? That's question one. And was it a certified audit? And number two, whoever did the audit, how long have they been doing the audits here? I find it troubling that these numbers have shifted, so there's clearly a problem here with the finances of the school. And I would state that in the private business, if they had numbers shift around like this, it would be an investigation on it. So I encourage you to follow what Mr. Downing said and return money to the taxpayers in the 4 towns as quickly as you can. But I'd also like to see if it's been the same audit company for a long time, perhaps it's time to hire a new auditor. If it wasn't a certified audit done, I think there needs to be one. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Hannah Rizzo?
Oh, I just went.
Okay.
I'm happy to say it again.
Well, no.
Did you fill it out twice? Is that what happened?
No,
No?
There's 2 last names.
well, we have a Jean Rizzo and a Hannah Rizzo.
Hannah Dangus, is that? Yeah.
Okay. I was like, no, there are 2 people.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me have this time to speak. I'm here tonight to show the school board meeting my disappointment that the JV cheer team was canceled this year due to not enough kids. This is simply not true. Every year I see squads with as little as 8 teammates, and I believe that anything is possible. Here are my thoughts. I believe it's unfair to me and multiple other girls who have been cheering for an excessively long time. We all have to wait basically a year till next cheer season. The girls who don't make varsity, which was a lot, could have been on a separate JV team. The team keeps us academically striving and encourages us to keep good grades. It kept all of us super active, and it teaches us to have responsibility and commitment, which I took a whole vacation off to be committed to my team, in which I didn't make the team, and there's no JV team, so that sucked. I've been cheering my whole life and have been on it every single year. I wasn't given the respect I deserve, along with the other girls, with an explanation, as well as the parents, so they could have been aware to help us girls that didn't make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Denise?
I'll go after Debbie.
No, I've only got a Denise, and then I'm assuming a Mr. LeBrecq. That's the only 2 I have up here.
No, I just. Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I'm Denise Jackard. I live in Atkinson, and I'm just hearing about this from my neighbors. And it doesn't sound very good. How do you not account for millions of dollars? I know for myself, when I get my mortgage bill, 2 years ago, it was $1,069. Now it's $1,271. That's because people aren't doing their job properly. I'd like you to give me back some of the money that I pay if you can't be good stewards of what you're given to be in charge of. We have to be open, honest, and transparent. This sounds very dark. Things done in secret need to be brought into the light. These are people's lives, everyday people. How do you misplace $17 million and come up, oh wait, we found another million? That begs the question, are there other millions out there that we don't know about? Who's the accountant? If my accountant doesn't do right by me, he's fired. That's how it works in the real world. This is not playing games time. These are people's real lives. So I would ask that you look inside your own hearts. You have to budget at home. You have to know where every penny goes, especially in this economy. I'm a widow. I could use $300 back a month that you guys made my taxes go up. Thank you very much.
Mr. LeBrecq?
I'm Ryan LeBrecq from Plastow. I've not intentionally avoided these meetings, just haven't been available most Thursday nights as I travel a lot. But over the last couple of months, I've been urged by multiple people, some of them town Plastow residents, others from surrounding towns, to start attending these meetings and pay a little bit more attention to the school system. And the ongoing, in my opinion, debacles that have ensued. It's unfortunate Mr. Sappi is not here tonight. I wanted to address issues with him. I'm going to say it anyway. I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure he'll about it on Facebook because he tends to be the. I don't know if he's assigned as the resident board bully, but he likes to go on Facebook and stalk people and bully them.
Nothing
et cetera.
personal, sir.
That's fine. So one of the comments were that there was a belief that the board was instrumental in reducing costs and saving $16 million over the course of that last year. And that's fantastic. If that is true, I thank the board and Mr. Sapia for proving that the district doesn't need the $16 million plus, can operate effectively without it. And I would argue there's several $1 million more left on the table because I think there was every effort to spend every dollar possible on every corner in order to try to hit that budget, to try and justify an ongoing over bloated budget for future years. I think that's been going on for a long time. I think that any suggestion that anyone has had at deliberative or elsewhere that, a single dollar or penny is cut from this budget, that we're somehow child haters and we don't support the school system. That's not true at all. You have plenty of residents that support the school system. Most of the town does. We all know it's the general public's responsibility to educate children. And I think the school system has gone way beyond the mission of educating children by overstaffing the administration. We need to cut 50% of the administration and get back to paying the teachers what they deserve to have the right amount of teachers, focus on the kids' education and not worry about all the other pet projects and things that are going on. So where do we go from here? I think the board's job this fiscal year is to continue to prove that the $16 million can be saved yet again and more. I think the target should be $20+ million. And I believe the board, as well as the budget committee, should start with a number that's $20 million less as the target instead of targeting $100 million, which seems to be the goal. over
Sir,
the
that
last
is your
several
time.
years. So.
Sir, that's your time.
That's fine. In any case, I appreciate it, and I hope that in deliberative, we are delivered a budget that is appropriate in the $70 million range. Thank you.
Right, can I get a motion to move the 9 minutes of delegates and individuals to the end of the meeting, please?
So moved.
Motion by Shauna, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kim, any other discussion? All those in favor? All right, all opposed and abstained. Okay. Next is approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of non-public and we also have a set of public. Let's go ahead and get the public ones over with and then we'll move on to our non-public ones.
I'd like to make a motion to,
Ma'am, this is a meeting held in public. It's not for the public. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 15th.
I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 15th. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Alyssa? Any discussion?
Accountable to us, right?
Ma'am, under RSA, these meetings, that while they're held in public and it is encouraged for the community to come here and watch, it is not for the public.
Am I making you angry because you gave me?
No, ma'am, you're not making me angry. I just want to get on with school business so that we can do what we need to do. Thank you. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? And then abstained. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 2 abstentions. All right, next, we're gonna do the first, we had 2 sessions of non-public. The first one, let's get those.
I said that was for the public.
Oh, got it, sorry. Yeah. The second ones are the second page attached as well, so you have both.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the non-public session 1 and 2 from August 15th.
A motion to approve the non-public session 1 and 2, and I've got a second by Woodworth. Do I have any discussion? Excuse me, if you guys are going to have communication, I need you guys to go out there because we can't conduct business when we're having to hear you all as well, okay? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the first 2 on these? No? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained. 5, 4, 2 abstentions. All right, if we could just pass these back, please. All right. Okay, go ahead.
I'm happy to do the first order of business. Sharing with the board, we're on pages 13, 14, 15, and 16 of your packets. It's for information only. This is the school district board budget, so it's the portion of the budget that the school board has authorization over. There are things for you to review there. Katie and Mark and I thought it was important to share it with the full board. I'll be engaging with both the chair and vice chair over the course of the next few weeks and months to look at this. It's got historical information in terms of budgets to actuals for you to look there. And then working with Mark and Katie, we will come to a consensus and we will bring a recommendation for the school board portion of the budget to BudCom in the fall. So for information only, if you've got questions, need to talk anything out, have suggestions or ideas, you can share those with myself, with Katie, or with Mark directly.
And again, this is just our chunk of the budget. It's not the entirety of the
No.
school's budget. Okay.
It is not.
Again, this is just informational. This is our chunk. So we just wanted to look at this to get ahead of the game for budget season. So we wanted the members to have this so that we could start looking at it. Does anybody have any questions at this time for this?
No.
Next is going to be the SAU organizational chart.
I'm also happy to introduce that piece of information only. I know it's been a board goal, longstanding board goal to get into a direction where this is outfitted in a manner that's going to be most effective for the district. Sharing with you the outline that we're there. This is the supervisory and evaluation chain of the district. This is the flow of communication from district administration to other administrators, to building administrators, and so on and so forth. So it is really a clear example of how the flow of communication runs through our district. Again, if there are questions or if there are things that people want to dig into more, it is not a complicated chart, but there's a lot of information and a lot of different personnel responsible for a lot of legal obligations of school districts here. So if any members of the board would wish to have either a public discussion about that or want to dig into that more in terms of roles and responsibilities, I'm happy to do that in small groups or individually with you as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this has been a very longstanding goal for us, and I'm happy to see it come forth now. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Question, and perhaps this is unfair because I didn't, I'm just thinking of it now. What percentage of the positions time here represented are spending their time or their bandwidth on our legal requirements of a school district? I did not know, I was not aware before I joined the board and even the first year, just the phenomenally onerous the responsibilities and the owner's burden of staying compliant among the various agencies. So I don't know the answer to this. What percentage of these people are just kind of making certain that we stay on the right side of the law, as it will?
I'm not just gonna throw off a percentage off the top of my head. If we wanna do a really analysis of it, we could certainly do some time studies and case studies. I would anecdotally tell you that it is a large portion of their day. These are administrators. They're administrating the policy of our school district and the laws of our state.
Does any other board member have a question about the organizational chart? Okay, moving on, the canopy removal.
I would ask Dr. Martin to introduce that agenda item for us.
Thank you, Superintendent Krieger, and if you would pull up the my fabulous photography there. So this is a project that we are looking at out of necessity. It is a safety issue. We have issued an RFP, request for proposal, with 3 options for consideration, that being the demolition and removal of the concrete canopy alone, the demolition and removal of the concrete canopy and steel structure, filling in the holes in the new concrete, and the third and most expensive option, that being demolition and removal of concrete canopies, steel structure, and sidewalk, replacing approximately 3,000 square feet by 4 inches of concrete sidewalk. We received proposals from 2 vendors, Energy Efficient Investments. Thank you, sir. Right click or left?
Scroll.
Scroll, thank you. We received proposals from 2 vendors. And we are proposing the least expensive option, that being the option 1, 47.7, from Energy Efficient Investments. And the rationale for that is it is the most cost-effective proposal. We achieve our goal. Our goal was to create a safe environment. And leaving the metal structure in place allows us to add a canopy in the future if needed, or some other option. We have no immediate plans to do that. The last time we met, there was there were questions about the aesthetic appearance of leaving the steel structure. If you could, this is just my perception, right? So you see the canopy is up there. There's the steel structure. The canopy is the same color as the high school. So if we remove that canopy, you really are not going to interfere with the aesthetics of the high school. So picture yourself, now you're taking the distance view, same thing. It almost looks exactly like the structure. Am I going the wrong way? And you can see this is a rather large crack, not just a crack in the surfacing that was filled. And there is, the deterioration is fairly significant. It is essential that if the board is going to approve this, that we do it sooner than later, because we're going to need to plan with the vendor to get this done during the winter or December vacation, because it's gonna be noisy and messy and whatever. And we're gonna have to be mindful of it through our fall and early winter as far as snow load is concerned, because that is, of course, the most concerning safety issue at that point. And I bring this forward to you this evening for your approval.
Okay. Any questions?
The only question, I looked at it a few weeks ago. How much structural horizontal support does the canopy provide to the metal structure? Any? Are those?
Not according to the vendors or the engineers.
Yeah, so like horizontal load, they're not moving without that thing.
No, it's almost 4 feet of steel that's in the cement. And our intention would be when the weather warms up in the spring to do a little facelift to the steel structure.
So we have plans that show what the footings originally look like going down, so we get 4 foot down below.
That's my understanding. I'll verify, but yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, that was it for me.
And then leaving just the
high beams.
the beams. it could open it up to maybe doing something down the line instead of taking all of them out. I mean, I know it's not safe, but you're also walking in there in the rain or in the snow and I mean, people stand there and wait for their rides and.
It's definitely a consideration. It's just not, it's a worry for everyone that knows anything about that product.
Eminent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Didn't you say that there's been some concrete found on the ground where it's fallen?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think, go ahead, Mark.
So for safety reasons, it needs to be taken out.
Yep.
And we were given a couple different options for just removal. Removing's removing, so I say go with the cheaper option. The other options are removing and replacing it with something, structural on the top. And that option, the option that we were given is literally 3 to 4 times more than that. Seeing as how we haven't had time to look at it, we have nothing to lose by taking the safe and the cheap option, taking the roof off, taking the cement off, and then giving us time to research what it is we want to do at the top. With that being said, I'm in support of option number 1 with the lesser cost.
You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept option number 1 for the removal of the demolition and removal of the concrete canopy for $47,765.
Motion, do I have a second? Seconded by Paul. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Next is policies, and I believe Sandy's gonna present, correct?
Happy to. So we bring to you directly from policy committee that just met earlier this evening. There are 4 policies primarily that you have before you. They are all connected ultimately to a change in federal Title IX regulations. So just before we look at the policies individually, wanted to give you that context. So the federal Title IX regulations changed with some significant changes and pieces around procedure, timelines, decision-making with regard to what protected classes fall under Title IX, also the regulations and the language that we would look at to determine whether or not something rises to the level of a Title IX potential violation. So with those changes that became effective August 1st, our legal team provided us with these 4 policies. These are directly from our legal counsel. The revisions reflect the new legislation, and we were strongly advised not to change any of the language. If we had questions and a will to look at them and make any changes, they asked that we go back to legal with those questions before you adopt anything that varies from what we have in front of us. A couple other things. Our current Title IX policy, which is policy ACAC, you do not see in front of you. And the reason being is that part of the recommendation is that we revoke policy ACAC because the revisions in Title IX are embedded into the language of these revised 4 policies that you have before you and their associated procedures. Okay, so just a reminder that the board's purview is to set policy, and it is under the direction of the superintendent to, with his team, develop procedures that align and allow us to implement board policy effectively. So we do have procedures that accompany 2 of these policies, that being policy ACAA and ACAB. Each of those policies have 2 associated procedures that also came from our legal team, and should the board move forward with adopting these policies, we would adopt the associated procedures that came directly from legal counsel. So that's kind of the high level overview. A few things that we learned at policy committee this evening. So we'll take a look at these 4 policies. Want to go back to policy ACAC, which is our current Title IX policy. We would be, as we adopt these, looking to the recommendation and vote that came from policy this evening was to recommend that the board revoke that policy. There is a policy that governs the process to revoke a policy, if that makes sense. So that policy is
policy, bear with me, I have it written down and I pulled it up. Policy BGF is revoking a policy. And the timelines in BGF speak to a 2-week window of time prior to a vote at the board level. So I'll read you the 4 criteria to revoke a policy. 1 is a majority vote of the policy committee to recommend revocation at least 2 weeks prior to a board vote. We met that criteria. Policy committee voted unanimously earlier this evening to recommend revocation of policy ACAC to the board. So check that box. Second criteria is that the policy committee takes into consideration any associated policies and procedures that may need to be rescinded or amended. We had that conversation as well. Inclusion on the board's agenda of the policy and intention to revoke. So once when we are able to consider revocation, if you so choose to go that route, it would need to be posted on an agenda publicly 2 weeks prior to a meeting. Okay. And then finally, and most importantly, I think, a majority vote of the entire board membership in favor at a properly noticed regular meeting in which written notice of the policy to be revoked was included on the agenda. So those 4 criteria have to be met to revoke a policy. So informing you that the policy committee is recommending revocation of policy ACAC, but it will not be able to happen tonight based on the guidelines in this other policy.
And that's being revoked because these other policies are gonna be taking.
Are
over.
replacing
it.
everything, and our current timeline policy language is out of compliance. It is based on the 2020 Title IX guidance and not the most recently adopted that was effective August 1st. Okay, everything else, I know we do have Ginger Drexel, our Director of Student Services, who is also our Title IX coordinator. She attended policy committee this evening to speak to these policies, and I know she is here to potentially speak to any of them, but we can take the policies one by one and speak to them if you'd like to.
Yeah, you go down.
Okay.
Good evening. So I think, Sandy, thank you. You did a really nice job of really covering the overview of the new policies that have been recommended by Drummond Woodsum. I think what I would like to highlight is that, the recommendation from Drummond Woodsum, it was that we do accept these policies as written. And again, if there is revisions requested or questions, that we go back to legal to take a look at those and, discuss any of those changes with the legal team, just to ensure that we are fully covered in terms of our practices around these particular policies and concerns, so that we are dutiful and diligent about our practices. If you have questions, I think maybe we can start there, unless you want me to kind of go over kind of a high-level overview of the changes in, between the 2020 and 2024 regulations. Under Title IX, I'm happy to do that, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, if that's helpful.
Yes, that was helpful policy, so if you don't mind doing that again, that would be great.
Sure. So really the big differences between the 2020 Title IX regulations and then what came out as of August 1st of this year is really taking a look at not only just including sexual harassment under Title IX, but now we're looking at sexual harassment and discrimination against protected classes. So some of the criteria around what we would investigate as a Title IX concern is changed. So the criteria is, I would say, lessened. So we are looking at things in a little bit of a different light than we had been historically. In terms of our procedures around investigations, timelines for Title IX investigations were quite lengthy and had built-in timeframes that investigations would last typically the course of months. That time frame is shrink down to about 40 days as a maximum at this point in time, which is really will help us kind of move through these processes a lot more efficiently. It designates different personnel that are capable now of doing investigations, people who are decision makers. So it kind of distributes some of those practices across different staff members, again, for ease of practice, as well as it just gives us a little bit more flexibility. In terms of our requirements around production of evidence and things of that nature, appeals process, some of that stuff has changed as well. So hence why the policy ACAC, which was really specific about the procedures, how you would go about filing a complaint, what the investigation would look like, all of those pieces were very detailed, but are now antiquated based on all of the changes.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
There's a reference here to under reports and complaints, harassment involving students to the human rights officer and Title IX coordinator.
Yes.
What are the different functionalities between those two roles? There seems to be an overlap. I don't know what the human rights officer is, and is this a new position?
Please allow me to provide my job description.
You mean a new requirement of school districts?
Yeah, I am not familiar with that. Is that a new requirement?
It is
Is
not
that an
a-
old?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's not a requirement, it is a suggestion by our legal team that we do identify someone as a human rights officer through the district. It is possible that as the Title IX coordinator, I could also serve as a human rights officer, but I think the discussion has been maybe parsing out those roles just because they do have some differences and potentially could be quite involved. As you'll see, the job description is 1.5 pages. I'm happy to read it. So you have an understanding of what the human rights officer or Chris will be doing in that role. But we will be essentially working really collaboratively together whenever complaints come forward. They will be reported to both of us, and at that time we will work together to have make a decision as to whether or not it falls under the Human Rights Department and Title IX, one or the other.
That's where I was going for. Thank you.
Yes, so there will be dual notification for every complaint that comes forward.
Any other questions? Okay, these are up for first read. Since they're all gonna be first read, we can just make one big motion if someone wants to do that.
I think the thought of the policy committee was actually to make an adoption, given that we're out of compliance with these. And if we need to bring questions and concerns back to legal, it only laments us being continuously out of compliance.
I guess my thought process would be, I mean, this is rather large, sweeping in nature once you've read it. And quite honestly, though, I've been looking at it for several days. There are potential implications here for us that I have not been able to ferret out to my comfort. And because we have been advised not to make any changes without consulting legal, I would be hesitant to adopt something that I'm told, shouldn't be changed without a bit more time to review. So I'm more comfortable with the first read just to, have another week to mull it over. It's the will of the board, but that's just my thought.
Well, it seems to me that there's what we're getting doesn't change what we're doing. In essence, it's inclusive of what we do and has additional responsibilities, that superintendent would make sure, we're in place, whether it's because of the need to have our, human rights officer work closely with the our
Title IX.
What's your position?
I'm the human rights coordinator. Ginger is the Title IX. By the way, I didn't read the job description before I offered to do it. I didn't know it was a page and a half.
Basically, it's on its responsibility. The process that's described there makes it more inclusive of all the situations that might come up, that discrimination or issues that were part of Title IX, but which are multivarious in school systems, have a process to follow, to handle. I think it does make sense to adopt it as soon as we can so that we're compliant and we avoid any liabilities for not following what is law.
And we can always, even though we adopt a policy, we can always come
Amend.
back and bring and
Yeah.
revise it. So, yes, Paul?
What was the policy regarding revocation?
Coding? Sorry,
It was a
are you
B-
asking
B
the coding?
something.
It was BGF. BGF is the policy
Oh, to revoke.
to revoke.
Yeah, policy ACAC.
So that's, okay, so that's different than, well.
Yes.
And that we would do that next meeting.
Or potentially the meeting after, because
I think
we
it
would
would
have had
be
to
after.
notice.
2 weeks.
Oh,
Today.
okay. Yep.
Today.
Right, that makes sense.
I just had a question about that. I just wanna make sure I understand it.
Yeah, because if we adopt these policies, then that one is obsolete and these take place of them. That's why they're.
So we have to revoke that one.
Correct.
So my confusion on that was it says, policy committee to recommend revocation at least 2 weeks prior to a board vote. That's tonight. So in 2 weeks, we can do this.
Correct.
Then it says, it would be included on the board's agenda of the policy, an intention to revoke. But how would we declare an intention to revoke if we didn't say that at the next meeting in 2 weeks?
I think we have to do it this.
We have to do it this
Well, we can't
meeting.
intend to revoke if we,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
like, we have to
I
wait
see
2
what you're
weeks to
saying.
make an intention. We have to vote to intend to revoke.
Right.
And then that,
Another 2 weeks.
and then there's another 2 weeks.
I see what you're saying.
And then if we've got a policy out there for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's in contradiction to this policy we're recommending we push through tonight.
No,
I
yes.
don't see how
Hold
they
on.
exist together.
It is, so one of the criteria is to include on a board agenda the policy and the intention to revoke. That doesn't have a time frame associated with it. So our next upcoming agenda, we would include the policy, and typically where it would say action, it would likely say intent to revoke.
But how do we know what each board's member's intent is?
We wouldn't know the vote. It would be an intent to the public that there would be conversation pertaining to the policy around the revocation of that policy.
I'm just a stickler for things that can be overturned because we didn't pay attention, and that's, to me,
Yeah.
this says we're 4 weeks away from at best. Cause we can't publish a intent to revoke without asking the board if they intend to revoke.
But that current policy is obsolete because we're out of compliance because there's new guidelines as of August 1st.
And we don't need to revoke it.
We do because.
It's still on the books.
Cause it says we can't.
Right, process wise, correct. So we need to find a path forward to do both
Okay.
things within the time frame.
But why I
And
think
I'm
we're
open to-
projecting 4 weeks from now.
Yes.
You're right,
Yes.
yes,
And
that's why
hopefully
we're
this is
saying
making sense. That's
2
like-
meetings from
yeah.
now
It
is
just doesn't
likely
now.
when the vote would take place based on the timelines built into this policy. Yes.
So can we vote to have a new policy on top of a policy that doesn't exist anymore? By
Yes, because
very
those
nature?
policies currently exist.
Hmm.
We currently have the policies that are before you. These are updates to current policies and revisions of policies that are already
makes more sense to me.
existing, which is our regular practice at every board meeting. You're updating current policy.
So what I'm hearing is that we have these current policies that were updated due to legal language and standards that took place August 1st. Our policy ACAC is obsolete because these languages take over that. In order for policy BGF, oh my goodness, you have to notify the board, which then it'll be put on the next meeting's agenda with the intent, and then it'll be the following agenda that we
Have the discussion.
have the discussion and then
vote.
vote. Okay, that's the timeline.
And, I'm sorry,
Nope, go ahead.
and I do understand that the revocation might just be a procedural thing that we kind of have to do. I get that, like, so I'm not,
No, all good
Yeah.
questions, all good questions. Anything else? Paul, got any more questions?
no, I just need the 4 rules.
No, you're good.
In my head, that
You're
is-
good, man. Okay. So
Do you need individual motions? Or do
we can either do
you-
it that way, or you could do one batch of it, 'cause it's whatever you all wanna do.
Seeing as how we're out of compliance, I would be comfortable moving this forward.
Then make- Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
It's more of a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My understanding of the, as written, the one we're talking about adopting
Mhm.
is basically, we'd be falling in line with a lot of other districts. I mean, this is
law.
school
This is
boards,
law.
yeah,
Yes.
this
Law.
is- this is
It's
law
the law.
and our attorneys and the New Hampshire School Board saying this is what it should be.
Yes.
Correct.
So we're not like
This is federal guidance.
You're not going rogue on, this is like our own like little dream state here, this is.
And in doing so, we're protecting all of our students and all of our employees, okay, and doing the right thing.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good to me, all right.
If I may just add one more thing, in the process of conducting a Title IX investigation, should one arise, let's say tomorrow, one of my requirements is that I provide somebody with a current policy that supports what we are in practice doing within the district. So the longer that we go without having the policy in place, it really essentially creates a procedural violation, which I don't know, but could potentially present with issues.
Greater jeopardy, yeah.
Okay. Kim?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Policy AC, ACAA, ACAB, and JIE.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shauna. She beat you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. Okay, and again, even though we adopted them, we can always go back and revisit policy committee and change things, but this is by law, it's gonna keep us from being liable. All right, administrator's report.
Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very
Ginger,
much.
for being here.
I'll start by saying just a quick thanks to Sandy and Ginger. That's a really complicated process to work through with policy, and attention to detail is really paramount there. Don stated it
forward to me.
Don stated it well. I mean, it is in the bottom line about protecting the people that are in our community. So I think that was well said, Don. I'm going to start because I'm not going to have Sandy start after she just walked through policy, but it's an awesome week this week, right? We welcome kids to our buildings on September 3rd. In all of our school buildings, we had 97 to 99% enrollment of attendance, and I think that speaks so well to the registrars and the work they do with families over the summertime, and also just to the communication between schools and families about records requests and kids transferring out and moving in and getting started, and really beginning to get there that first day and enjoy the process for that forward. So it's really a remarkable fact to have 97 and 99% of our kids in our schools on September 3rd. I was really proud of that. Reporting out a couple things from each school for that day. Atkinson Academy is really thankful that they've got a new and improved drop-off and pickup location for paving. It just was, the flow of traffic there was much different than it was in the past. Danville is really proud of some of the staggered stuff they've done with lunch and recess. They're maximizing student contact time with teachers and instructional time, and we're also needing to put less teachers on duty. So it's kind of like a double win across the board there. Pollard, they're reporting that they had a couple of staff changes beyond grade levels, and if you are paying attention in schools or have worked in schools, people that change grade levels, sometimes it's a really challenging piece, and they did it with smiles and are invigorated about what kind of the new year holds. So that was Ms. Sullivan reporting that out, so happy to hear about that a positive response to change. TLC welcomed its NEC partner program, and Kim just wanted to point out how proud they are to have that specialized program. They're working in the school and continuing to do good work at the elementary level and up. Sandown North reported all smiles across the day. The middle school had over 90% of their sixth grade families at orientation, which Mr. Mensa says yielded a great first day. Sixth graders kind of knew where they were headed and knew who their teachers were, and were able to begin the day kind of running. And the high school, Mr. Vaccarezza brought up something really great, is that because we've done what I think is a really admirable job of going out and contracting with services that our kids need and that we're obligated to provide, and we were able to do that early and forecast the need to do that. We had those contracted service people in our buildings on day one with our kids to start those relationships from day one. And that typically doesn't always happen. So high school is really proud of that stuff. So great week. Looking forward to Friday tomorrow and kind of wrapping up the week with kids, and continue with them next week. Awesome. Couple of updates I just wanted to point out to folks. So we talked about extending the invitation for BudCom tours to the board selectmen. So we are in the process of doing that right now. We're writing directly to the chair of each town. We're going to publish those meetings and certainly extend the invitation to community members as well to come for those interactive tours across our schools and all our buildings throughout the month of September and bleeding a little bit into October. Cool thing to report on the secondary front is the Center for School Climate and Learning is going to have a kickoff residency in our schools this September. They're going to meet with our entire secondary staff at a staff meeting for about an hour and a half and kind of set the stage and frame the year about working with school data that everybody in our community was able to participate in last year. And then they're going to have personnel in our schools on Tuesday at the middle school and Wednesday at the high school. They're going to be working with our student and staff leadership teams there over the course of those 6.5 hours and really talking about student-initiated projects to improve the culture and climate of their buildings. So we'll report back and hopefully bring some of those kids and staff before you cross this year and talk about that work they're doing. Also, wanted to point to a couple date things that are small. We're excited to have the Timberlane Regional School District retirement celebration coming up in September. We're going to recognize 18 retirees from our district. So if you are tied into any of them or you wanted to connect with schools, we certainly would like to pack the house where we're holding it for them and celebrate their achievements over their time in Timberlane. We also are going to be having a student rep join us at the board meeting fairly soon. They've got deadline for submission is the 11th of September. They're going to have a class vote on the 17th. So I'd say sometime pretty early in October, we'll have a rep with us at the board talking through high school stuff and excited about maybe what we can do differently with that role through the year to add some charges to it. Lastly, wanted to report out just on the ad hoc committee that's working with kindergarten and early education. They've got an upcoming check-in meeting scheduled for September 19th. It's at 6:30. It's kind of sandwiched between the strategic planning committee and the board meeting beginning at 7 o'clock. Other check-ins from that group is they've got all their listening tours scheduled throughout our schools and buildings. They're going to be working through those. They're working to secure dates to do listening tours with the public and in the community. And they are going to be taking a time to have both myself and Maria Watkins attend one of their upcoming meetings after September 19th and present some kindergarten financial information to help them continue to make decisions along those lines. And they've also extended a wider survey to the community to try to get some input as well. Some more information to come then. And lastly, I would close, and I'll pass to Dr. Martin after this. I'd be remiss if I'm not just recognizing the national events in schools, particularly in Georgia, and want to extend my deep appreciation to Chief Santoro of the Plaistow Police Department. He was in really timely communication with me. He provided more resources to the school district today to continue to have visibility, and also yesterday. So that open line of communication is paramount, and it continues to happen. And I wanted to share that with the board and the public, that I'm really confident in that relationship and that he's got the best intentions out there in terms of keeping our community safe. So really appreciate that partnership.
Great.
Dr. Martin.
Sure. So for those of you who wonder I'll just make note of my role in the district is that first of all, it doesn't fit on a business card, but I support special education, the directors of special education, technology, facilities, student services, athletics. I'm certain I'm missing, and I deal with everything related to transportation. So my office is a busy office, and at the opening of school, transportation is clearly one of the most challenging pieces. Transporting several thousand students, some in specialized transportation for students with disabilities, and others just in our regular transportation. I'm pleased to report that we continue to improve in our timeliness of transportation. However, we continue to also have some challenges. And tomorrow I will be meeting with the general manager of First Student to discuss some of the issues that continue to present themselves that need to improve in order for our students to have the service that they deserve. I just have to say, and I know Sandy's going to report out on our PED day. As you know, I'm new here, and I was just extraordinarily impressed with our opening day as a district. Extraordinarily impressed with the thoroughness and how Justin put together his presentation. This concept of moving in the right direction. And the whole spirit of the day, and the concept of removing barriers to students being successful. It just continues to make me feel like I've made the right decision about spending the next 10 or 20 years of my career here. We'll see how long I can last. But if you board members I'm sure you're getting calls about transportation. And I would ask you to assure people that we are not ignoring anything. and that it is my top priority for students to be safe and transported to school in a timely fashion. If I've missed a phone call or an email, please ask them to give me grace and try it again. But I will return those calls, and we are attending to these issues every day.
So just to stop you, so from what I'm hearing is that you're over transportation now. So if we're getting complaints, we need to direct these individuals to contact you.
Yes, please. Yes, please. And not as much as they can, not the bus company, not that we don't want for them to provide customer service, but here's what happened the first day of school. The principals were calling the bus company, parents were calling the bus company. Then the phone lines were jammed and we couldn't get a hold of the bus company to deal with issues with, kindergartners that might not have known which stop to get off of. The things that happen the first few days of school that make everybody's hair gray. So yes, please, please direct those concerns to me.
Okay.
Extension 2227.
Better have an alternative number.
Your phone's about to get jammed up here, so.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, parents have been very patient. Okay. Very patient.
I fortunately get to share mostly good news. So I'm grateful to my colleagues for allowing me the one to kind of wrap it up with some good things. So I'll start with last week. I know Chris just referenced our District Professional Development Day. Just wanted to share a little bit with those in attendance and those at home, kind of the intent of the day and the messages that were shared. So Justin started us off and was able to speak to us about feedback that he has received from members of the community, from staff, from students, from a variety of stakeholders regarding in different ways how we as a district, as a community, are moving together in the right direction. In the context of that, Justin shared some of our district goals. And then we had a couple of guest speakers, one being a returning recent graduate who had a challenging experience with school in her early years, through middle school and her early time at the high school, was very disconnected from her education, from her peers, and was really struggling to find, I think, her path academically. She spoke about how individuals at the high school, through their attempts to connect with her, to see her as a whole human being, apart from her story and the challenges that she had faced, and really worked with her to find alternative pathways for her to be successful and meet a significant number of credits in her remaining 2 years as a high school student to be able to graduate on time. And she did an ELO, I believe. We just heard from Plastow Fire, which was tremendous. We have other opportunities that are similar to that allow students to pursue non-traditional pathways, to receive skills that are both academic, social, emotional, and sometimes get licenses and certifications to go off and pursue professions. This young lady was able to participate in some of those opportunities, and they were life-changing. And I think it was really meaningful for those of us who were in attendance. It's probably one of the most moving experiences I've had listening to a student speak about what success looks like from a different perspective, I think. So that was really moving. And we had another guest speaker, Mr. Rick Blair, who some of you will remember as a former Timberlane school board member. And he currently works for Snyder Electric. And he came and spoke to our staff about universal design and how we as a staff can start to think about and identify barriers as they exist in our schools and our environment and their educational practices that prevent students like this young woman and many others from accessing their education, and how we can think from a backwards design planning approach to be more inclusive in the way we design experiences for our students. So we did some small group work connected to that presentation around universal design for learning. We had a wonderful lunch together as a community and wrapped up the day with a variety of sessions that many of you participated in and presented yourselves. So our staff had the chance to choose their afternoon session and be part of things ranging from a session with Bree on mindfulness. I know Shauna did some work with our paraeducators. Mark was part of our kind of question and answer session that many of us attended with staff, but we had other sessions as well that allowed staff to have a choice that would be relevant to them and their positions and where they're at. So it was a really great day. It felt very much that it involved us as a community, and so a really great way to kind of wrap up the summer. And moving forward to this week, in addition to being an employee, I'm also a resident and a parent of a middle school student. And so I just wanted to share on our ride in on the first morning of school, 7:20, long line at car drop off. We had a variety of community members standing on the side of the road. I believe it was the Plastow Lions Club. And they had made signs, printed signs of encouragement for all of our students. And it was incredibly heartwarming. I know my daughter appreciated it as a student. So if any of you are here or listening, we really appreciated that and valued that wonderful start to the day on the first day of school. And then lastly, one other just small thing to kind of call your attention to. We are fortunate that we do receive some federal funding in the form of grants. And through one of those grants last year, we were able to get approval for a brand new esports team that is now under the sanction of the NHIAA. It is an approved sport. And we were able to purchase materials, supplies to get that team up and running and to pay for the coach's stipend. So our fall esports team, just recently, they started getting together, and I believe they had their first match today. So that's another alternative way for students who may not be involved in traditional athletics that we see every day out on the fields after school to be connected and be involved in a competitive sport. So just wanted to highlight that. We were really proud of that. So
That's awesome.
For my cousin Lucy in Illinois, could you explain esports? You said esports and everybody's like, what's esports?
Gaming, video games.
Gaming. And I believe, I don't want to get it wrong, there's going to be a fall and a winter season, and it's 100% funded through this grant. But I believe, Shauna, do you know, because I know your son was interested, do you know which one the fall one was?
Soccer, I believe.
Soccer.
And then the spring session is Super Smash Bros, which also coincides with wrestling season, so we have a little conflict in the house.
Yes.
But again, this was all funded through the grant that you guys were able to
100%
win.
funded
That's
through the
awesome.
grant, 100%.
Yeah, I saw a video controller on my IT director's desk and I was like, what is that? And then there were 20 more and he was programming them for the kids, and when he explained to me that, I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
That's great. Yeah, it's great. It's another opportunity because some kids, they don't fit in with band and music, and they don't fit in with physical sports, but they're really good with computers and gaming. So this is just another thing for them to, but yeah, go ahead.
There's also some crossover too, I've noticed, and between those, and there's real college scholarships out there for esports right now.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
I don't know if it's those games, but I know some other games that there's actually scholarships at real schools, and these are real teams, and I think there's a professional league too, that Bob Kraft might own a team actually.
Yes,
That's awesome.
So this is actually a real,
And there's a league, right, under NHIAA. They're competing against other schools and teams at other schools as well.
kind of a new thing to everybody, but it's, there's scholarships out there for colleges and all sorts of great things, so. Yeah.
Positive. Yeah, I'm positive.
And I just to share about esports and the collaboration that happens. You know, I know kids are just have a lot of screen time. I get it. But to hear my son come home and say what they talked about at the lunch table as they're strategizing, so they are having all these social interactions about it face to face, then they're on the screen. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it gives them something that's meaningful and purposeful. So I think it's a great opportunity. And I'd like to ask if potentially some of those kiddos could come speak to us maybe in student share session. Sure. So that everybody has an opportunity to hear about their experience, if that's possible.
Thank you guys for the administrative report. Personnel report, it looks like we just have two that we just need to read into the record because we already electronically approved them over the summer. So Shauna, if you do not care.
Just to read into the record, acceptance of professional nominations of Beth Summers, technology teacher at Sandown North, and Cynthia Pelletier, special education teacher at Danville.
Thank you guys. Welcome to the team. Next on the list is committee reports. I'm going to start with Paul.
Since the last meeting I was at, curriculum assessment meeting. And I won't talk too long because you were there and Don was there too and probably do a better job, but it was, there was some curriculum talk around psychology. I think the other one was health. There's some talk about some of the health classes K through 12. But for me, the most fascinating part was we reviewed a book for approval. It was called Hidden. It was just a fascinating local person that was alive and survived the Holocaust, born in 1939 in Hungary, and she's feeling well and she'll come and speak to the school and everything. It was just amazing.
Oh, that's really cool.
And it's a graphic novel, which until recently I didn't really even know that was.
A thing.
I didn't know they were like real adult things and that there was an art to the graphics. Like that's the part of the story too.
Yeah.
I just recently learned that, and then this happened, and the teachers and the folks that brought that to us were very passionate about it. And I think one of them is represents the school. You'd have to tell me the title.
She is on the governor's board
Yeah.
for Holocaust and genocide studies. And they govern the rules around the implementation of legal requirements around the instruction of Holocaust and genocide studies in schools.
Yeah, and I think she's familiar with the author.
She is,
Okay.
yes.
So it was just, and there was other, and Jen had read the book. It was a very, and then I'm over there researching the book, and I think we all voted yes, this was a no-brainer to me. And to introduce that into World Lit, was that the one?
World literature.
Yep, so, and then maybe we'll have the opportunity to have her there, and they say she's a real spitfire, so 85 years young or whatever she is, so it was actually it was kind of an exciting meeting, to be honest. And then everything else, we got facilities coming up, we got CIP coming up, so.
Melissa?
I did attend policy meeting, which was right before this. We've pretty much, I think, covered basically everything that we've talked about. So I don't have anything with that. Just one thing I want to mention though, yesterday I had the opportunity to go to the TMA meeting, which is the Timberlane Music Association meeting. They had their first meeting last night. They're set for a great year. They actually ran a fundraiser over the summer. They were selling scratch ticket raffle tickets, and they didn't estimate quite a lot of return on that, and they blew the numbers out of the water. For the students, the students that participated, they got to earmark what they sold for their upcoming trips. So each student, depending on how many they sold, that's how much they got. But for overall students in the music department, so this would be the high school, they raised over $12,000 from these scratch ticket raffles that they ran over the summer. So it was a real good success, and I was like, oh wow, I was very impressed with that. So yeah, they're off to a great year over there at the music department. Thank you. You're welcome.
Kim? Paul took the cool parts of curriculum assessment. Thanks, Paul. We reviewed our goals, admissions, and our mission statement, which was great, and just kind of, everyone getting on the same page and nothing much there. I just wanted to point out, we talked about psychology, a psychology unit that they're changing from 3 units to 5. But there was a committee of teachers that worked all summer long, just so that they could align the new competencies to fit with, say it with me, because the competencies to align with the information better.
Yes.
That's what I want to say, right? Yeah. Very good, listen to it. But to explain it to you all is a little harder. And it's more purposeful. And so when we talk about teachers and they work 180 days, well, I mean, they were all working this summer on this. And so we read it, we looked through it, and we accepted it for a first read. We're going to all look through it again, and then we will look at it at our next meeting, and then it'll come to you, you'll read it again. But it's just the cool things that we're doing. And another thing is the admin and teachers, some teachers and admin all looked at K through 12 health.
Oh, cool.
So we are realigning our K through 12 health just a little bit at a time. So for right now, we talked about first grade and second grade for a first read, and that will come to you once we go through it one more time. And yeah, but it's just stuff that these people are doing just to make sure that everything is right for our classrooms and our kids over the summer and in meetings after school. And to me, that felt like it needed to be mentioned because it's it's a lot of work, so I appreciate it.
Shauna?
And our next meeting will be the first Tuesday of October.
Sean?
Policy, check. Wellness committee, so we meet a couple times over the year. Our first scheduled meeting is sometime in October. I have 2 dates written down on my calendar, so we're just gonna close the planner till I actually confirm the date of that, but I'm looking forward to getting that started up for this year. And in terms of the ad hoc committee, I know it was already sort of spoken to, but we'll be doing what we're calling listening tours. We're starting with our educators who are educating the kindergarten and first grade population. So we're really looking forward to do that. Kim, Don, myself, and a couple of other folks on the committee are gonna sort of divide and conquer and be able to go spend some time there. And they actually start Wednesday. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I also wanna thank the educators who are fitting time in their schedule before school or after school to come sit with us and inform us from their area of expertise on what they're seeing within the early childhood education pieces of our district.
Okay, so you hit on ad hoc. We had facilities, and I'll just touch briefly on part of the facilities meeting. Justin was able to get an expert from New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. We've been talking about the floors for quite a while. We know that we have tile floors. Occasionally the tiles come up. They're bonded with some asbestos bonding, which causes issues. And several different options have been bantered about, from replacing all of the tile, ripping it all up and then replacing the stages. That would be to the tune of millions, or ripping it, taking it all up and just having a concrete floor there on the bottom so we never have to worry about asbestos again. Adding interesting complexity to this is the fact that the waxes that we have historically, and everybody have historically used, contain PFAS materials. The state of New Hampshire, all the states, the country's kind of moving in the direction of getting away from PFAS. It's a known environmental hazard. It's a known health hazard. And historically, this is what we've been using to polish our floors. And then as the year ends, this is what we're stripping from our floors, buffing out, and then repolishing with more. So there was a lot of discussion. So what do we do to protect not only our facilities, our community, our kids, but most importantly, the water that our system is using, but also the potential of some of these chemicals leaching out into the greater community, in what is our responsibility and what is the liability. The information that I picked up in my interpretation of it is this is coming, it's going to be mandated. The good news is there are a lot of major manufacturers of polishing components that are now using PFAS-free waxes. That was not an option in the past. So then we talked about, what do we do to help mitigate our exposure, our risk, and our continuous need to look at and revise how we deal with the chemicals that we currently have on our floor in the wax as we're stripping them down every year. The problem is there's wastewater. We're stripping down, we're cleaning them, there's PFAS in there. What do you then do with that water? You don't just put it in the septic, because that can get into drinking water. So we discussed some filtration system options and also some storage and then removal to have those waters controlled. So we gained a lot of great information, and I know that we had talked about an option of, instead of stripping and having a PFAS level here, the next year we use a PFAS-free wax, having the levels go down year after year after year, perhaps just stripping it down to the very base, which is something that we do not do because of the labor-intense nature of that. I know that Chris is looking into some options for that to see whether we can just strip it down to the base, deal with it once, one and done, go to a PFAS-free, and have the potential of saving millions and not replacing all of that tile. Which in my mind, is the economic and environmental and health win, but there'll be more information forthcoming on that. I also had the opportunity to go to the Q&A with these guys for PD Day. It was very interesting. The teachers were extraordinarily engaged. it was really nice to see the energy in the room and trying. There were two main themes. One, bringing back and reestablishing some historic Timberlane traditions and their willingness to put in the extra, as they always do, for the betterment of their community. And something that I'll say, and I'm hesitant because of the Facebook stuff, and I will not be on Facebook for the next 2 weeks. One of the other major discussion points is, hey, let's, what do you folks think, talking to the teachers about cell phones in the classroom and how that affects the learning environment. And so that is something that I think we are going to be looking into to see whether there is a need to look at our policy. I did not say ban, but to look at our policy to see if there's something we can do to help assuage parents' concerns that if they need to get in touch with their child, they are able to get in touch with their child. But on the other hand, we have heard from some of the teachers and their students that their students find it distracting as well. But if you're in a team chat and everybody on the team responds to the cell phone except for you, then you're the odd man or odd woman out. So what can we do? It's our responsibility to look at the distraction of technology as well as the benefits. So I will not be on Facebook for the next couple of weeks.
Anything else?
No, that was more than enough.
Safety committee meeting has not met yet. I'm hoping to shoot for end of September, 1st of October. We'll get together with that. Budget committee, our first meeting, I do believe, is September 26th. It'll be here along with our walkthroughs. So looking forward to that, looking forward to tackling this budget season. That's all for me. Don?
2 committees I'm on have been presented. No more to add to that. Thank you.
All right. Other business. Yes, ma'am.
So, at Danville Elementary School, let me start by saying we did a lot of work towards classroom size policy, in curriculum assessment. And we were lucky enough to change our classroom policy towards classroom size. So 5th grade is 25, is the top. So at Danville, we had 26. Was it 26 and 26? Or was it 26 and 25?
I think so. Yes.
Now it's 26 and 24. So our policy says 25 and there's 26 in a classroom. Now I know that's semantics because there's still 50 kids, but I wanted to open it up to the board for discussion. Because with those classrooms being at max capacity, if anyone comes out or comes back in, that's a problem. But there are a lot of adults in the classroom with the children. So we have the teacher and several students have a paraeducator with them. So it's a crowded room. I've heard from a lot of Danville parents that are very worried about that. So I just wanted to discuss it. Ask Justin and Sandy what what we could do about it and see what everyone thought.
I missed the grade level, I'm sorry.
Grade 5.
5, thank you.
We'd be happy to answer any specific questions that the board has.
So yeah, go Mark.
So my understanding from what you said, so we're 25, 26, and the policy,
24,
26. The policy is not over 25 maximum, that's the high water mark. It doesn't say that's the optimum mark. And from what I'm hearing from you, the classroom is extra crowded because there are extra adult bodies in this room, because this room happens to have a particular patient population which is in need of additional support.
Yes.
So that seems like the worst of all possible scenarios for the students' learning environment.
Yes and no, because from what I've heard from the other side of that would be that there are more adults in that room to help support children. So my question is, would it be advantageous to look for another 5th grade teacher for that group for this year? Would that be an appropriate thing to do for right now? And if so, would that add to the Danville teacher population and that could move with the students, or does that go into a repurposed position?
Can I take the last of those questions?
Yes, please.
We, for many years, to be fiscally conscious around our staffing levels, look at all of our elementary positions as district-wide positions. It's rare that established teachers at a building are required to move from one school to another, but it has happened. As recently as last year, we were in a position to go down by one section in Sandown. And Danville required an additional teacher, and so we moved a teacher. We communicated with her, she was part of the conversation. But typically we try to look at where we have open positions due to retirement, due to resignations. And if it were a Danville position and we had 3 5th grades this year, we would look at the population in 4th grade to determine if there was a need for 3 5th grades. What sometimes happens is we get bubble classes, and as they move up through the grades and move on to the middle school, the grade right behind them might be a smaller size. It's a situation at Atkinson right now with one of their grades. And so sometimes we'll move a staff member up with them. So at Atkinson, it was kindergarten moved up to grade 1. And as those students progress, we will likely have to add and move a position from a grade level as they move up. Sometimes it's across schools, sometimes it's within a building. But we're looking at all of our positions. We have to, because we don't have the luxury of being able to just say these are Danville positions, regardless of your enrollment. They might be needed somewhere else in the district.
If you were not to add a teacher for the 50 students, well, first of all, why 26 and 24? Do we know?
That question.
Secondly, and if you were not to add a teacher to spread that group out, what are the options? What options do we have?
Currently, and I will follow up with Mr. Snyder tomorrow, but my understanding is they have already assigned additional paraeducator support beyond what's required based on identified students who require a paraeducator with them. We're also looking at opportunities to bring in, we have our literacy coaches who co-teach and do model lessons with different grade levels. We're looking at opportunities to partner with our special educators and potentially schedule co-teaching in that building to be able to, have part of it is the size of the classroom and the bodies in it. Part of it is really contact between the educator and the students for them to have a more personalized experience in their schooling. And so while more bodies in a space can create, an environment, you said it yourself, Kim, that there is an advantage to having additional support and that the students are able to have an experience that's more tailored to their specific needs. So those are some of the things that my understanding is have already been part of the conversations. So, and we'll continue to have those conversations. I know Mrs. Kanotis met with that team this morning to talk through it, so.
Go ahead, John. If memory serves me, and today is probably a bad day for me to recall things, but when we had our subcommittee related to class size and we discussed parameters and things of that nature and the number of 25, somewhere in the policy, it does say that if a classroom exceeds that number, it's supposed to come, something's coming to the board for approval of additional supports? Have we missed that opportunity?
Or we waive policy.
Or we waive policy for the class size? Because I'm not recalling that part of the
So
process, but
it's-
also it may have just occurred with enrollment this week and I'm sure that's what happened because I work at a college, so now I had 5 extra students in my classroom today that weren't there yesterday. So
Yes, the first day of school is real important for us because that is the real enrollment, right? And we need to plan for what's projected.
Right.
But really, it's a crapshoot that first day about who is actually gonna kind of come and be able to do those things.
Okay.
As we do enrollment reports, that's when we're bringing those before the board for you. We've tagged this, I think, as a classroom on watch for a while, a grade level on
Pressure
watch for a
point,
while. Yeah. Kim, to answer your question about 24 or 26, I don't have a exact answer from the school setting. What I would assume and what I'd share with you is that I would think that we would find numbers like that across our district. We're not necessarily interested in always placing even amounts of numbers. There are a lot of other variables that go into class placement for students and families and the staff that are obligated and required to work with them. So that's my assumption that it was a strategic decision made in terms of who the personnel and who the kids are.
how long did staff know that there was gonna be 26 students in a class? Which,
I believe it was late last week because I was only informed that we were potentially over very late last week. And then almost just following that this past weekend, we had withdrawals as well that brought us back down to 50. So very recent.
I heard about it last week too. I think at one point they were looking at 26 and 25 and, you know, so they had a dilemma, they had choices, you know, do you dismantle another grade to make that grade work? You know, these are very quick conversations, but they determined to stick with the large size and probably end up needing to seek board approval to go one over. But unfortunately, this has been a large class for a few years. And what we're gonna hear from parents is fatigue with this situation, and why aren't we addressing it more aggressively, more effectively? And that's a fair question in terms of, you know, when we have done forecasting, we know it's gonna be tight. You know, are we gambling that, you know, nobody's gonna move into the district, and it's gonna be a fifth grader? You know, we're, you know, there's a budget piece to this. It's important that we are cognizant of, so I mean, it's a hard decision. But, you know, certainly it's, when you start talking about 30+ people in a room, you know, it's not ideal. And if you have kids who have, you know, an extreme need or something like that, it can make it hard for the whole class to move forward, you know, on a given day. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for administration. It's gonna be a challenge for the teachers. It's gonna be a challenge for the kids. And you know, we, you know, ideally would have another room and a teacher ready to roll. But I think if we could find this late date, a person who we would trust, you know, to do a great job and learn fast, or, I mean, that's a reach.
That's my fear.
You know, you don't want to, you know, make a situation worse, you know, by having a person that you don't think can do the job really well. So, you know, I think we have to really try hard to avoid these situations from ever occurring. But once you're in it, all those things that, you know, they're trying to do to mitigate the, you know, potential, you know, issues is what you're left with to do.
Mark and then Sean.
Question for you, Kim, is this the same classroom that we heard about a lot last year from a lot of parents? Is this the same classroom that had a challenging situation?
I would say point of order.
Okay. Okay, so looking at this bubble class, thank you. If this is the bubble class that we have heard concerns with from parents for years, if I were that parent and, you know, large class stuffed grade 2, large class stuffed grade 3, I mean, going on, we have one student move in and we're violating policy. That's it. To me, it seems, and I'm not a resident of Danville, but that's a very suboptimal learning environment and teaching environment, and has been historically. So these kids have had potentially more challenges than some of their cohorts. Could we?
Why I kind of wanted to bring it here. And I
Yeah.
think Dawn said it best.
Agreed.
These families they're fatigued. They don't want to deal with this anymore. It's too much. And I hear it over and over and over, and I get it. However, bringing somebody in right now, who are we going to get now? Like, the school year's already started. Is that the best option for these 50 kids? Right? So we could put it out there.
Rather
We
than
need to hire
waiting.
someone right now. Is that person has to be onboarded? They have to figure these kids out. They don't know the kids like the literacy coach or like the special educators that come in. They don't know them like, you know, the new teacher wouldn't know them. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring it here for a discussion with you guys.
What would, if the board voted to repurpose it and add another grade, I mean, not another grade, but add another class to that, would it have any implications on like the minimum federal funding we get now?
There could potentially be future implications regarding the student to staff ratio at Danville that may impact our ability to continue to procure the federal funds that we currently do.
But I feel like regardless, you all, Danville's over one classroom, 26, which is over policy. It has to come to the board for us to waive policy or make a decision elsewhere, whatever we gotta go. So I feel like that this is good discussion, and at the next board meeting, we should have an agenda item that has that policy, and then we can get more information to make it, because unfortunately, the year's already started, right? So it's like, that's kind of what we're stuck with.
Yeah.
Shauna?
Can I just bring up another point of context to this particular population, not related to the policy, but to this group of children, is that in 5th grade, throughout the district, I know there's other schools that do a little bit of team teaching and classroom swapping in preparation for middle school curriculum environments, right? Where they're having different core content with different teachers, with different expectations in a different environment. And so I think I would be concerned about how, if they have access to that due to the numbers and the populations and the amount of bodies that are in the classroom, and are they going to be afforded the same opportunities across the district to be prepared to enter the middle school environment based on some of these things that we're kind of chatting about. So I just want to bring that up as a contextual thing for us to consider too.
Are there any things that we could bring back for you information wise that would help in your discussion?
So
the
my
future
intention
meeting.
coming in here tonight was to make a motion to direct you to find another teacher for 5th grade at Danville. However, having the discussion, we certainly can't lose federal funding. We can't lose $1. So that's not front of mind. The kids are front of mind, but I didn't realize that that was part of it. I think what Dawn's point is really resonating with me is that the people that are there that we can put in place would probably be more beneficial than somebody new that doesn't know our children the way that the people that are already there know them. So I think what I would like to put on the agenda for next week is to find out what the plan would be for that group there that deserve the best of us. How they're gonna move forward with that. And I'd be curious, and maybe it's not, maybe, like you said, this is not a discussion at the board level, why the 26 and 24, but why the 26 wasn't ever brought to the board for that approval. Because that's out of policy, right?
So I'm hearing this next board meeting, this will be on the agenda, as well as if that classroom stays at 26, the policy needs to be brought in front of us to waive it, because we need a 1-week notice that we are intending to possibly waive the policy. Board members. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
I put my hand up, I was thinking about my hand up. We also, I don't know what the appropriate time is to start talking about next year. We have.
We're already talking about next year.
Like 3 3rd grade situations that are getting pretty full, right? I mean, the Atkinson, Pollard, it's pretty full. Maybe Sandown's getting up there on 3rd grade. I don't know why 3rd grade's so popular, but
it's the bubble.
Yeah, so it's that, it probably, I don't know when that real planning starts, but like you said, but I mean, it's probably something we should get in front of, because you wanna do that.
Well, we get enrollment and report every other board meeting, yes, so we should be hearing more about, actually, this is gonna align with what's gonna be on the agenda then.
Also on top of Paul's kind of conversation, it's a reminder for some of you, and maybe new information for new members, is this discussion was similar last year to other grade levels and other schools. You would ask for an analysis if we looked at every potential classroom that was at this kind of crucial point. What would that mean, to kind of Sandy's point, budgetarily wise for us? And quickly we were able to ascertain, like, that's an additional 8 to 12 teachers across the district. So that I'm sharing that only as information, not to influence decisions or anything, but it's to help you make the decision whether you're gonna charge us to be looking and adding a position or repurposing a position. Because I think, Kim, it's good that you understand, like, Sandy and I can't do that. We would need a vote of the board to create a position or to repurpose funds for a position. There's not a current elementary position that we can allocate that way. It would need to be something additional and new.
Yeah, I think we found helpful too. I think, Dawn, we had a discussion, and I think you were there too, when we had the comparison of student to teacher ratios across similar school districts in New Hampshire. And I remember that Don and I had a conversation about that in that meeting, but we really wanted to get
We want to
into
be
the
more
mean.
comparable to.
Yeah,
the-
because we're high on some and
I mean, there's, research that could say the difference between, the difference of an extra student class doesn't make a difference. You could say that, but there's when you see an obvious difference, of 6, 7, 8, 10 kids, in the averages at some schools, the environments are different. And trying to find that sweet spot for a number that you can afford and, which is most considerate of teachers and kids, in terms of creating a good environment. You want to try to aim for the ideal as best as you can.
Right.
And that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And we, because we were challenged even, historically here with those situations. And I just, you have to be creative and try to find ways to, give kids individual attention and make sure they're not getting cheated out of the attention they need to be as successful as they can be. And so that's what Chris is going to be challenging, his staff. What can we do better? What can we do differently? What can we do to, make sure kids are, getting the attention they need in the areas that they need it. 25 kids there in each class about that need to have a closer look right now to see what we can do better.
Thanks, Don.
All right, so we'll make sure this is an agenda item for next meeting. In the meantime, if anybody has any specific questions related to this, please email Justin and me, CC us, copies on it, whatever we need to do. That way we can get some information for that one.
Great, thank you.
Okay, good discussion, guys. Any other business?
Just one other thing, I've recently had the opportunity to speak with my board of selectmen a few times. I know some other folks in the room have. And kind of inspired by watching Justin at the PD Day speaking in front of everybody. Wondering about your willingness to make yourself available to not only my BOS, but the BOS for the other towns as well. We had charged you, actually you charged yourself with increasing communication, be it in the telephone calls, the emails updating the website, the 1-minute meeting review from all school board meetings, reaching out via BudCom. I'm wondering if this is another step that you would, be amenable to taking.
I'd be happy to engage with the BOS of the 4 towns.
Awesome. I claim Sandown first.
No way.
Could I communicate with each of the town's reps and we will kind of coordinate schedules?
I think that's
that way? Would
easiest
that
thing
be
to
the
do.
most appropriate?
Wonderful.
Yes, and actually, can I connect with you? Because our selectmen reached out to me today,
After
so
me.
schedule wise, fine, but.
I think we've been to a good art and talking to.
Thank you for being so accessible.
Yes, thank you, Justin.
Thank you
That's a
very
great
much.
idea, Mark.
Any other business? Any other delegates, individuals? All right, we will be entering a non-public. Shauna?
Make a motion to go into non-public under 91A:3 subparagraph C and E.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kim. We get a roll call.
John Woodward. Katie Newton.
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
Sean Manthorn.
Yes. She says yes.
Alyssa Clausic. And Paula Kane. Sorry.
All right, thank you, everybody. We will not be back other than possibly seal the minutes. Everybody have a good evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, go take your time.
Thank you.